Never touch a woman when a mafia boss is quietly removing his gold rings right behind you. Arthur thought he could drag his terrified wife out of a crowded mall. But Derek Jordan, a man who ruled the city's underworld, stepped into his path. Put your hands on her one more time, Derek warned. What happens next isn't just a beatdown. It's the total destruction of a billionaire's empire by a criminal who refuses to let her be a victim anymore. Before anyone in Copley Place understands what is happening, Carly's body already knows. Her pulse beats so hard it drowns out the music drifting from the stores. In panic, not in love, but with the ugly confidence of a man who still believes he has the right to decide where she stands. Carly's knees nearly buckle on the cold marble. She can smell his expensive cologne under the sour trace of alcohol. And for one terrible second, she is back in the life she escaped. Around them, shoppers slow down. Some stare. Some pretend not to see. Then the crowd shifts. Derek Jordan steps into the open, calm as winter, and begins removing the gold rings from his fingers. Carly's trembling hand rises to the collar of her cashmere coat. It is such a small gesture that most people would miss it, but Sarah does not. Sarah sees the way Carly tries to cover her throat, the way her shoulders pull inward, the way her eyes jump from Arthur's face to the exits. 8 months ago, Carly ran from him with one suitcase, a cracked phone, and enough fear to keep moving through the night. Since then, she has built a quieter life in Boston, a tiny apartment, a job at an art gallery, a morning routine that belongs to her, but freedom still feels new on her skin, and Arthur has appeared like proof that some men do not accept locked doors unless they are the ones holding the key. I am fine, Carly whispers, but her voice breaks on the word fine. Sarah steps closer, careful not to startle her. Boston is huge, she says. He should know you here. Carly wants to believe that. She wants to believe distance means safety, that changing cities can erase a man like Arthur Pendleton. But Arthur is rich, entitled, and used to having people solve ugly problems quietly. He bought loyalty the way other men bought cufflinks. He never saw Carly as someone who could leave. He saw her as something that made him look complete. Now that she has walked away, he is not grieving her. He is grieving the loss of control. The first warning came that morning outside Carly's building. A silver luxury car idled across the street, its windows too dark, its engine too quiet. It was gone when she looked again, but her stomach stayed tight. Sarah told her it was probably nothing. Carly tried to agree. She even laughed, because she wanted the sound to be real. But the anniversary of her escape is close, and fear has its own calendar. It remembers dates the mind tries to skip. So Carly let Sarah pull her into the mall for coffee, lights, and ordinary noise. For 20 minutes, she almost became herself again. She touched scarves she could not afford, smiled at a display of winter coats, and let herself believe ordinary life might still be waiting. Then she steps out of a second-floor boutique, and her body goes cold. Her purse slips from her hand, spilling lipstick, keys, receipts, and a compact across the marble. Sarah bends to collect them, but Carly cannot move. Near the escalator railing stands Arthur, tall and stiff in a dark coat, watching her with the flat patience of a man who has already decided how the scene will end. Carly backs behind a concrete pillar. Her throat closes. The mall blurs at the edges. She hears Sarah ask what is wrong, but the words come from far away. Arthur's eyes find hers. He smiles just enough to tell her that running only made the hunt more interesting. Sarah, Carly says, barely moving her lips. Service elevators. Now, this time she does not wait for reassurance. She grabs Sarah's wrist and pulls her toward the side corridor. Her legs feel weak, but she keeps walking. Every few steps, she checks the glass storefronts for Arthur as reflection. Then she loses sight of him, and that feels worse. A visible predator can be tracked. An invisible one can be anywhere. Sarah keeps pace, face pale now. Carly, talk to me. Carly cannot. Her mind is already building possibilities. Someone followed her. Someone sold her address. Someone at work said too much. With Arthur, none of those fears feel dramatic. They feel practical. The hand lands on Carly's shoulder before she hears him. Arthur's voice slides close to her ear. You always were bad at hiding. Carly freezes so hard Sarah crashes into her side. Arthur's fingers tighten, finding the old place on her arm that still remembers him. You embarrassed me, he says. You stole from me. You walked away like you had permission. Carly swallows air that does not reach her lungs. Then, from somewhere beneath the panic, a smaller, sharper voice rises. I didn't need permission. Arthur's face changes. The calm mask cracks. Sarah steps between them and says, let her go. Arthur turns and strikes Sarah across the face. The sound cuts through the mall like a snapped branch. Sarah staggers. Carly catches her by the shoulders and screams for help. The crowd flinches but does not move. A man lifts his phone, then lowers it when Arthur looks at him. A mother pulls her child away. Arthur uses the silence like permission. He grabs Carly's wrist and yanks her toward the exit. We're leaving, he says. And when we are alone, you will remember how this works. Carly digs her heels into the marble. Pain shoots up her arm. She pulls back anyway. No. Arthur turns, stunned that she has refused him in public. Then a voice speaks from behind the crowd. Let her go. It is not loud. It does not need to be. Derek Jordan walks toward them with no hurry at all. That is what makes people step back. He does not look like a man rushing to save anyone. He looks like a man arriving exactly when he intended to. His suit is dark, perfect, and expensive without being flashy. His face is calm. His eyes stay on Arthur's hand around Carly's wrist. Enzo moves with one hand inside his jacket. The crowd parts wider. Arthur tries to laugh. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Derek raises both hands slowly. 3 heavy gold rings catch the mall lights. He removes the first and lets it drop into Enzo's palm. I know enough, Derek says. Arthur reaches for the armor he trusts most. Names, favors, titles, old money. The police commissioner is a friend of mine. Derek removes the second ring. He stopped taking your calls 20 minutes ago. Arthur's eyes flicker. Carly sees it, and that tiny fracture gives her breath. Derek steps closer. Take your hand off her. Arthur pulls Carly in front of him like a shield. She is my wife. Carly's voice comes out thin but clear. No, I'm not yours. The last ring slides from Derek's finger. Enzo catches it without looking away. Arthur's pride cannot survive that sentence from Carly. He jerks toward her, and Derek moves before anyone else can breathe. Derek's hand closes around Arthur's throat and drives him backward into a glass storefront. The window shatters behind him in a burst of bright noise. Arthur releases Carly, because fear finally becomes stronger than ownership. His hands claw at Derek's wrist. Carly falls beside Sarah, stunned, one arm wrapped around her friend. Derek leans close to Arthur, his voice low enough that most of the crowd cannot hear. Carly hears enough. You were warned from a distance. You ignored it. Now you get the warning in person. Arthur's face reddens. His expensive shoes scrape uselessly against the marble. Derek does not look angry. That is worse. Anger can fade. Derek's calm feels like a decision. Derek lets Arthur drop only when the panic has replaced every trace of arrogance in his eyes. Arthur collapses, coughing, crawling backward over broken glass, his coat torn, his dignity gone. Derek does not follow. He adjusts one cuff, then turns to Carly. Everything about him changes. The violence does not disappear, but it folds itself away. He kneels on the dirty marble in front of her and stops before touching her. Carly, he says softly, look at me. Carly looks because his voice is the only steady thing left. You're safe enough to breathe now. She does not know why those words break her, but they do. Her lungs open, and the first breath hurts. Who are you? Carly whispers. Derek's answer is not really an answer. Someone he should have feared sooner. Around them, Derek's men move with silent efficiency. One pushes the crowd back. Another checks Sarah's cheek. A third gathers Carly's scattered purse, keys, receipts, lipstick. Even the compact that slid under a bench. Carly watches all of it through a haze. She should feel terrified of Derek. Part of her does. But another part is still staring at Arthur on the floor. A man who once filled every room with dread, now unable to meet Derek's eyes. Carly reaches for Derek's hand before she fully decides to. His palm is warm, steady, and frighteningly gentle. Derek helps her stand without pulling. That matters. Carly notices and hates that she notices. Sarah leans against her, trying to act stronger than she feels. My purse, Carly says suddenly, embarrassed by how small it sounds. Derek snaps his fingers. Everything goes with her. Someone answers at once. Then Derek turns back. Do not look around. Walk with me. It is an order, but it shields her from the phones, the whispers, the faces pretending they did not just watch too long. Carly obeys because the mall has become too bright, too loud, too full of judgment. Outside, an armored Maybach waits at the curb, black and silent. The door opens like a vault. Inside the car, Carly's body starts shaking. Not delicate tremors, but deep waves that make her teeth click. Sarah sits beside her with one hand pressed to her swelling cheek. Derek sits across from Carly, his attention controlled and absolute. He offers her a chilled bottle of water. She grabs it too quickly and spills some down her coat. "Sorry," she says automatically. Derek's eyes harden at the word. "Don't apologize for shaking." Carly looks up, startled. Sarah watches him with open suspicion. "What did you do to Arthur?" Carly asks. Derek leans forward just enough to fill her vision. "Less than he earned." Sarah's voice cuts in. "And how would you know what he earned?" Derek does not look away from Carly. "Because I saw him hurt her 9 months ago." The car becomes very quiet. Carly's hand rises to her collarbone, where an old fracture still aches when rain is coming. "You saw?" she asks. The betrayal in her voice is sharper than fear. "Then why didn't you stop him?" Derek's jaw tightens once. "Pam, me phone, Sophia." "Because if I had touched him that night, he would be dead, and the federal people already watching me would have buried half this city with him." Carly stares, trying to decide whether that is honesty or a polished excuse. Sarah does not bother deciding. "So you followed her instead. That is not protection. That is stalking with better shoes." Enzo almost laughs in the front seat until Derek's eyes cut toward him. Silence returns. Derek looks back at Carly. "I blocked his investigators. I erased the trails he bought. I secured your building. I bought the gallery before he could pressure your employer." Carly's anger finds its feet. "You bought my workplace." "Yes, without asking me." "Yes, do you hear how that sounds?" Derek answers without softening it. "Like control." The honesty hits harder than denial would have. "Because it is," Carly says. "It can become that." Derek replies. "If I let it." Carly grips the water bottle until plastic bends. "Then, who are you?" Really, Derek's answer changes the air. "Derek Jordan, head of the Boston Syndicate." Sarah goes pale. Carly backs against the door. She understands now that she has not been rescued by a normal man. She has been pulled into the orbit of something larger, older, and more dangerous than Arthur. Derek lets the truth sit there. "I am not a good man," he says. "I do not raise my hand to women, and I do not break promises once made." Carly almost laughs because that sounds like a monster explaining his manners. Before she can answer, her phone buzzes inside the recovered purse. Everyone looks down. Carly opens it with shaking fingers. Unknown number. One photo. Sarah's apartment door, taken from across the hallway. Beneath it, a message. "You ran from one cage into another." Sarah stops breathing for a second. "That's my door." Carly's stomach drops so fast she thinks she might be sick. Derek takes the phone only after Carly holds it out. His face does not change, but the temperature in the car seems to fall. Enzo twists around. "Arthur." Derek studies the image. Not directly. He is too panicked for this timing. Carly's fear sharpens into suspicion. "Then who?" Derek looks at the reflection of the city sliding across the glass. "Someone who wants you afraid of me." Sarah's eyes narrow. "That does to make them wrong." Carly keeps staring at the message. The words are cruel because they have teeth. She has been rescued, but she still does not know whether the door behind her logs from the inside. Maybach descends into a private garage beneath Beacon Hill. Gates open before the car stops. Armed men lower their eyes when Derek steps out. No one asks why Sarah is injured. No one asks why Carly looks like the world has been split open. A doctor is already waiting. Food has already been ordered. Security has already moved around Sarah's apartment before Carly can form the request. That efficiency should comfort her, but it also frightens her. Derek's world moves faster than permission. In the elevator, Carly turns to him. "No decisions about Sarah without Sarah." Derek meets her eyes. "Agreed." Sarah, still holding ice to her cheek, mutters, "I hate that he learns quickly." The penthouse above Boston is beautiful, in a way that does not feel lived in. Glass walls, black stone, pale furniture, clean surfaces with no family photographs and no clutter. It is not a home. It is a place where orders are given from high above the consequences. Sarah is taken to a guest room with the doctor. Carly starts to follow, but Derek stops several feet away, careful not to block her path. "She be treated here. You can see her whenever you want." Carly studies the elevator, the guards, the locked private floors. "And me, you can sit, eat, shower, sleep, or leave. He points to the door. It is not locked. Carly looks at the guards. But your men are standing outside it. Derek nods. Yes. At least don't insult me, Carly says. An unlocked door with armed men outside is still a cage. Derek accepts the hit without flinching. Then, name the rule. Carly blinks. What? Name the rule I cannot cross. She expects a trap, but his face is serious. Carly's voice steadies because anger is easier to stand inside than terror. You do not decide where I go. You do not decide who touches me. You do not use Sarah to control me. And you do not call protection a gift if it comes with a leash. Derek is silent for several seconds. And he says, done. Carly does not trust it that easily. No, Derek says, but done anyway. In another room, Derek meets his inner circle, while Carly sits close enough to hear if she chooses. He does not close the door. That is deliberate, and she knows it. On the wall, screens show Arthur moving through Boston like a man whose name no longer opens doors. One feed shows the Ritz. Another shows bank transfers denied. A third shows calls Arthur makes and loses. Enzo wants to finish him immediately. Derek refuses. No, Arthur built himself out of money, status, and fear. Remove those first. Carly steps into the doorway before she knows she is going to. If this is about me, she says, then I don't want to hear summaries after the fact. I want to know what you are doing. Every man in the room looks at Derek, waiting for him to dismiss her. He does not. He turns one of the screens toward Carly, then sit. Enzo hides his surprise badly. Carly sits because her legs are still weak, not because Derek told her to. The screen shows Pendleton Holdings trembling under a coordinated attack. Frozen credit lines, leaked internal records, board members suddenly resigning, investors fleeing before the opening bell. Carly reads each headline slowly. Arthur once used his company like a weapon. He used lawyers to exhaust her, investigators to find her, donations to polish his image after every cruelty. Watching that machinery fail does not heal her, but it gives her room to breathe. Arthur's collapse begins in a luxury hotel suite where nothing expensive can save him. His hair is disordered, his shirt half unbuttoned, his throat dark with bruises from Derek's grip. He throws a crystal glass into the wall and flinches at the sound because it reminds him of the storefront. His phone lights up with names that used to answer him quickly. Tonight they speak in careful sentences and end calls first. The police commissioner lasts 13 seconds. A banker who once begged for his dinner invitations says compliance review and hangs up. Arthur stares at the dead phone. For the first time in his life, money is not moving fast enough to protect him. Then another message arrives on Carly's phone. This one is not from the unknown number. It is from the gallery's private security system. Forwarded automatically because Carly set the alerts herself months ago. Motion detected after hours. The attached image shows a shadow near the donor wall, exactly where Arthur's name still sits in brass. Carly stands so fast the chair scrapes the floor. The gallery. Derek reaches for the tablet, but Carly pulls it back. No, I am going. Sarah appears behind her, one cheek swollen, eyes fierce. Absolutely not alone. Derek's first instinct is written across his face before he controls it. No, Carly sees it. Remember the rule, she says. Derek exhales slowly. Then we go your way. They do not go with sirens, drama, or 20 men storming the sidewalk. Carly refuses that. She returns to the gallery in a plain coat. Sarah beside her, Derek 2 steps behind instead of in front, unseen unless someone knows what to look for. Inside, the gallery smells of wood polish, flowers, and cold fear. The donor wall gleams under soft lights. Arthur Pendleton's name is gone. In its place, someone has scratched one word into the painted wall. Mine. Carly stares at it. For years, that word lived around her, without being spoken so plainly. Sarah curses under her breath. Derek looks at the ruined wall and says nothing. Carly does. Take it down. Carly tells the gallery manager, who has been standing near the front desk with shaking hands. The whole donor wall. The manager looks from Carly to Derek, as if permission might be found in the more dangerous face. Carly's voice sharpens. Look at me. I said take it down. That does it. The manager nods and calls the maintenance crew. Derek watches Carly, and something like approval moves through his eyes. She does not need it, but she feels it anyway. When the brass plates come off the wall one by one, Arthur's name clatters into a cardboard box with the others. It is a small sound, almost ordinary. To Carly, it sounds like a lock opening. As they leave the gallery, Carly receives a third message from the unknown number. This time, there is no photo. Just a line of text. Ask him about the file he kept. Carly stops on the sidewalk. Derek notices before she speaks. What file? She asks. The change in his face is small, but she catches it. Sarah catches it too. Derek looks toward the street, then back at Carly. Carly, anger rises fast. No, not later. Not after you decide how much truth I can handle. What file? Derek's men shift around them uneasy. Derek's voice stays low. Arthur kept a private ledger, not just on you. On judges, donors, police, women he paid to silence, doctors he pressured. I found it 3 months ago. Carly feels the sidewalk tilt beneath her. You had that and didn't turn it over. Derek's jaw tightens. If I released it too soon, Arthur's friends would bury it. I kept it until I could make every name in it radioactive. Sarah steps forward despite her bruised face. Or until it was useful to you. Derek does not deny it fast enough. Carly laughs once, cold and hurt. There it is. Derek turns to her fully. Carly, that file can destroy him. And why does it feel like another chain in your hand? The question lands hard. Derek looks away first. For the first time since she met him, Carly sees that his control can fail without violence. It fails when she refuses to let him call secrecy protection. Back at the penthouse, Derek places the file on the study table. Not a dramatic folder, not a cinematic box, just an encrypted drive and a stack of copied pages sealed in plastic. Carly does not sit. She reads, standing up. Names, payments, dates, medical records, photographs, threats disguised as settlements. The room becomes smaller with every page. Arthur's cruelty was not a storm that happened only to her. It was a system, polished and funded, with people paid to look away. Carly finds her own name 3 times. Then she finds another woman's name beside a hospital bill and has to grip the table. Sarah whispers, "My God." Derek says nothing. This time, silence is the only decent answer. Carly looks at Derek across the table. This goes to prosecutors. Enzo starts to object, but Derek lifts one hand and stops him. Enzo says carefully, "Half the people in that file will run before we can use them." Carly turns to him. Use them for what? Leverage, deals, more quiet control. Enzo looks at Derek instead of answering. Carly understands. That is how their world works. Information is not truth. It is currency. Derek watches her for a long moment. "You want the clean road," he says. Carly shakes her head. "No, I know there is no clean road. I want the road that does not make me like him." Derek's eyes darken. Then he pushes the drive toward her. "Your decision," Derek says. "Not mine." Carly takes the drive, and the small weight of it feels enormous in her palm. Sarah exhales like she has been holding her breath for a full minute. Derek's men do not like it. Carly can feel their discomfort. She can also feel Derek choosing not to take that discomfort away from them. That choice matters. He gives Enzo one order: prepare a clean handoff. Federal, state, and press backups. If one office buries it, the others receive it. Enzo stares. All of it. Derek looks at Carly, then back at him. All of it. Carly does not thank him. Gratitude would be too easy. Instead, she says, "Now we can talk about Arthur." Carly tells Derek how Arthur thinks when cornered. He will not use professionals first. Professionals ask questions. He will call men beneath his usual world. Men greedy enough to be flattered and desperate enough to be reckless. He will overpay. He will promise protection he no longer has. He will lie and say she is alone. Derek listens without interrupting. Enzo writes every word. Sarah watches Carly as if she is seeing someone rise from underwater. When Carly finishes, Derek says, "Then we let him make the call." Carly's stomach tightens. "No civilians." "Agreed, no one uses me as bait without my consent." "Agreed." And I watch. Derek's first instinct is to refuse. He swallows it. "If you choose to." Arthur proves Carly right before midnight. In the Ritz suite, he paces barefoot over broken glass he has stopped noticing. His laptop shows the ruins of his public image, but he keeps calling it temporary. Misunderstanding, a smear, a mistake everyone will regret. Then he sees his reflection in the dark window, bruised throat, wild eyes, sweat on his collar. For 1 second, he looks exactly like what he is, a man with nothing solid left except rage. He calls a burner number tied to the old shipping yards. 4 rings pass before Jimmy Collins answers, voice rough with sleep and smoke. "You must be out of friends," Collins says. Arthur swallows the humiliation, because hatred needs a body to carry it. "I need a crew in Boston tonight," Arthur says. Collins laughs, then stops when Arthur names the payment. 100,000 in cash, 3 times the usual rate. Enough money to make caution sound weak. Collins warns him that Boston belongs to Derek Jordan. Arthur's hand tightens around the phone. Jordan is a businessman with imported suits and thugs who enjoy pretending. Collins asks what the job is. Arthur's answer is clean and ugly. Find my wife. Bring her to me. Remove anyone standing too close. In Derek's study, the call plays through a speaker in real time. Carly stands with one hand flat on the table, listening to the word wife come from Arthur's mouth like a stain. When the call ends, Enzo curses. We can take Collins before he crosses the bridge. Derek looks at Carly instead. Your call. The room stills. Sarah turns to her, worried. Carly understands what Derek is doing. It is not kindness alone. It is a test of whether she truly wants a place in what happens next. Part of her wants the men stopped far away, unseen. Another part wants Arthur to watch his last plan rot in his hands. She thinks of Sarah's face, the scratched word on the gallery wall, the women in the file. Let them come to the place you choose, Carly says. But no killing for theater. No message that makes Arthur a martyr. Derek's mouth tightens with approval. Done. Jimmy Collins and his men roll into Boston under a low fog in a rusted cargo van that smells of gasoline, old coffee, and bad decisions. They joke too loudly, because fear makes men perform for each other. Collins has a location purchased from a crooked investigator who thinks Carly's phone pinged near the seaport. The trace is real enough to be convincing, and false enough to lead them exactly where Derek wants them. One younger man asks if crossing Jordan territory is worth it. Collins spits out the window. Urban legend. Rich guy with accountants. That gets a laugh. None of them notices the black SUV 3 blocks back, turning only when they turn, stopping only when they stop. The Fargo Street Transit Depot waits at the end of an industrial road, chained, dark, and abandoned. In all the ways a trap should appear, a side door hangs open. Collins grins because greed always mistakes an open door for luck. They enter with weapons drawn, expecting a frightened woman and maybe one guard. The steel door slams shut behind them. Outside, their van erupts in a hard flash of fire and sound. Men drop low, shouting over one another. Floodlights snap on from every corner, blinding them white. 20 armed operators stand in the glare. Then Enzo steps into view, relaxed, empty-handed, and smiling as if greeting guests who arrived exactly on time. Drop them, Enzo says. No one moves. Red dots appear one by one, chest, throat, wrist, forehead. Weapons hit the concrete in a staggered rhythm. Collins tries to say Derek's name and fails the first time. Enzo tilts his head. You paid Sullivan and Associates $10,000 for that trace. Next time buy from someone who does owe us money. Collins goes gray. He understands then. The call, the location, the open door, even the confidence that got him here, none of it belonged to him. He has not walked into a job. He has walked into a message. Above the depot floor in a secure office, Carly watches the feed with the sound low and both hands clasped together. Derek steps out of the shadows and the depot seems to reorganize around him. Men who laughed in the van now cannot meet his eyes. He stops in front of Collins. Arthur sent you for Carly. Collins drops to his knees fast enough to bruise them. He said she was his wife. He said it was domestic. Derek's face remains empty. You brought guns for a domestic conversation. Collins stammers, sweats, begs, and repeats Arthur's name as if blame might buy mercy. Derek looks past him to the others lined against the wall. You came to take a woman who already said no. Silence answers. Carly watches from above, and for the first time the silence belongs to the men who came to hurt her. Derek does not kill Collins. Carly asked for no theater, and Derek keeps the line, though every man in the room can tell it costs him. The punishment is still brutal, but controlled. Weapons gone, phones wiped, names recorded, hands damaged enough to end their usefulness without turning them into corpses. Carly turns away before the worst of it. She does not pretend she is untouched by what she allowed. Sarah stands beside her and whispers, "This is not normal." Carly looks at the dark window, where her own reflection stares back. Neither was what Arthur did to us. And she adds, quieter, "That does mean I want to become him." Sarah takes her hand. Neither of them lets go. Arthur waits in his hotel suite with bourbon in one hand and his phone in the other. No update comes. His lawyers have stopped answering. He vote without him. His banker has sent one cold message about compliance review. He mutters Carly's name like a curse and tells himself she will be brought in soon, crying sorry, ready to understand her place. Then something heavy crashes against the suite door. Arthur freezes. The lock clicks. The door opens. Jimmy Collins is thrown inside and lands hard on the carpet, enough to make Arthur stumble backward. "You sent us into him," Collins rasps. Arthur's mouth opens, but no useful words come out. Collins laughs, and the laugh breaks halfway through. "You said she was alone." From his coat, he pulls an envelope and drops it onto the floor. Cream paper, black ink. Arthur recognizes Derek Jordan's handwriting before he reads the words. "Look out the window." Arthur obeys because fear has made him obedient. Down on the street, police vehicles turn the corner, lights flashing against the glass towers. More arrive behind them. Not mall security, not private guards, tactical units, federal sedans, reporters already gathering behind barricades as if someone wanted the fall to be public. Arthur staggers back. "No," he whispers. Then, louder. "No, no, no." Officers flood the suite with weapons raised and commands sharp enough to cut through Arthur's panic. He tries to stand taller. He tries to say his name like it still has weight. "I am Arthur Pendleton." No one lowers a gun. No one apologizes. Someone forces him to the floor. His cheek hits the carpet. The diamond watch on his wrist catches the light as cuffs close around him. He starts shouting about lawyers' influence, false evidence, Carly, Derek, everyone except himself. Outside, cameras catch only pieces, his torn shirt, his bruised throat. The famous Pendleton heir, dragged out of a hotel that once treated him like royalty, understands something has changed. Carly watches the arrest from Derek's penthouse on a large screen with the sound low. She expected joy, maybe relief strong enough to knock the breath from her. Instead, she feels quiet. Her body does not trust safety quickly. It needs proof repeated. Arthur in cuffs is proof. Arthur unable to buy the room is proof. Arthur screaming while no one bends toward him is proof. Sarah sits beside her, their shoulders touching. Neither speaks for a long time. Then Carly reaches for the remote and raises the volume. She wants to hear his voice small. She wants to hear the moment the world stops making space for him. It comes when a reporter says the word indictment. Derek enters but does not interrupt. Carly does not turn away from the screen. "What did you give them?" she asks. "The ledger," Derek says. "And enough evidence to make everyone named in it protect themselves by sacrificing Arthur." Carly absorbs that slowly. "You gave all of it. All of it." She looks at him then. That matters more than he may understand. He is not presenting her rescue as a gift from above. He is admitting that her decision changed the outcome. "Will it hold?" she asks. Derek's answer is immediate. "Yes." Enzo appears at the doorway with another tablet, face tense. "Boss, there's a problem." Derek turns. Carly stands too. "Say it here." Enzo hesitates, then obeys. "One file is missing from the federal packet, not ours, theirs. Someone inside the prosecutor's office pulled a sealed witness statement before intake." Sarah goes cold. "A witness." Enzo looks at Carly. "A woman from the ledger. Evelyn Marsh, former nurse. She can connect Arthur to the forged medical reports." Carly remembers the name from the file, the hospital bill beside it, the trembling signature on a settlement form. "Where is she?" Enzo swipes the tablet. "We moved to contact her. She disappeared from her apartment 30 minutes ago." Derek's face hardens into something lethal. Carly feels fear rise, but this time it does not paralyze her. "Arthur is in custody," she says. "So who took her?" The answer arrives in the form of another unknown message. This time it appears on Derek's secure line. A photo of Evelyn Marsh sitting in a chair, wrists bound, eyes wide with terror but alive. Beneath it, trade Carly's silence for the witness. Derek's hand closes around the phone so hard, Carly hears the case crack. Sarah whispers Arthur had help. Derek's voice is cold. Arthur always had help. Most of them wore better suits. Carly steps closer. Who sent it? Enzo traces the number through layers of false routing. A law firm server. Pendleton S. outside counsel. Carly laughs once, bitter and clear. Of course. Men who cleaned up his mess are still trying to clean up the last witness. Derek's first plan is written in his eyes. Find them, break them, end it before Carly can be hurt again. Carly stops him before he speaks. No, Derek looks at her. You don't know what I was going to say. Yes, I do. She points at the screen. If you turn this into a private war, they bury the evidence and call Evelyn unstable. Need them caught with their hands on the crime. Enzo looks uncomfortable because she is right. Derek looks at the photo, then back at Carly. That means risk. Carly's voice steadies. Then we control the risk. not by hiding me, making them believe I am still the easiest thing to threaten. Sarah says her name sharply. Carly does not look away. The trap changes. Not the depot now. Something cleaner, closer to the world Arthur's lawyers trust. Derek's team traces the signal to an empty private mediation office, owned through 3 shell companies. Carly insists on going to the building, but not inside the room. I am not bait without walls, she says. I am the voice they think they can scare. Derek sets up a live call. 3 recording streams. Federal listeners pulled in through the clean channel Enzo hates, but Carly demanded. Sarah stays in the van with Carly, one hand on her knee. I hate this plan, Sarah says. Carly nods. Me too. That does not comfort me. It comforts me a little, Carly says, and for 1 second they both almost smile. When the call connects, a man Carly has never met speaks like he owns the air. Martin Vale, senior partner, Arthur S., most loyal legal cleaner. Miss Hayes, he says, you have been surrounded by dangerous people. I can help you exit this situation before mistakes become permanent. Carly looks at Derek through the van's monitor. He is standing in the building's dark service hallway, listening without moving. I mean, before your crimes become public. Vale pauses. Good. She made him react. A frightened woman should be careful with accusations. Carly's fear flares, but she holds the line. A frightened woman kept copies. Vale's voice drops. Then perhaps Evelyn Marsh dies for your confidence. Carly closes her eyes once, then opens them. Let me hear her. The mistake Vale makes is pride. He patches Evelyn into the call for 5 seconds. Just long enough for Carly to hear her breathing, and one whispered word. Basement. Derek moves the second the word lands. His men cut power to the mediation building. Federal agents, already listening, hit the front entrance. Enzo takes the rear. Derek goes down the service stairs alone, because some habits do not die easily. Carly watches the monitor with both hands pressed together so hard her fingers ache. Sarah whispers, he's going to get himself killed. Carly answers, no. He's going to try not to kill anyone because I asked him not to. The words surprise her because she believes them more than she expected. In the basement, Derek finds Evelyn tied to a chair beneath a flickering light. 2 men guard her with guns drawn and panic in their eyes. Derek does not give them time to become brave. He disarms the first with one brutal motion and slams the second into a filing cabinet, hard enough to end the fight without ending the man. Vale tries to run through a side door and meets Enzo coming the other way. Outside, federal agents flood the hall, shouting commands. Derek steps back from Evelyn before cutting the last tie, letting an agent reach her first. That restraint costs him. Carly sees it on the feed. He wants control. He gives it up because the witness needs law more than vengeance. Evelyn Marsh survives. More importantly, she speaks. By dawn, Arthur's case is no longer only about Carly. It is about forged records, paid silence, obstruction, threats, and the network of polished men who kept monsters comfortable. Vale is arrested in a wrinkled suit, screaming about privilege until an agent reads him the charge list. Carly watches from the van as Evelyn is taken to an ambulance, shaking but alive. Evelyn looks toward the black vehicle, as if she knows someone inside helped give her that chance. Carly lowers the window just enough. Their eyes meet for 1 second. No speech, no dramatic gratitude. Just 2 women separated by glass, both still breathing because someone finally refused to let silence win. When Derek returns to the van, there is blood on his sleeve but none on his hands. Carly notices the difference. He sits across from her, breathing slower than a man should after what he just did. You listened, Carly says. Derek looks at her. You were right. Sarah makes a small sound. I may faint from shock. Carly almost laughs, then suddenly cannot. The weight of the night lands all at once. Arthur, Collins, the ledger, Evelyn, the call, the risk. Her breath shakes. Derek reaches out, then stops before touching her. May I? He asks. That one question breaks her more gently than comfort would have. Carly nods. He takes her hand. Nothing more. For now, that is enough. The days that follow move fast. Arthur S. company collapses under investigation. Interviews full of careful disappointment. His legal team fractures. Martin Vale starts talking before lunch on the second day. Because men who built careers on protecting cowards rarely become brave in prison, confirms what the ledger suggested. Other women come forward after seeing Arthur S. arrest. Not all publicly, not all ready. Carly understands that. Some wounds need more time before they can stand under lights. She reads every update, asks for documents, corrects timelines, and refuses to be placed gently in the corner as the rescued victim. The first time Enzo calls her ma'am, she almost laughs. The second time, she simply says, "Bring me the next page." A message through his attorney before the court restricts him fully. Derek offers to burn it unread. Carly refuses. In the study, with Sarah on one side and Derek near the door, Carly opens the letter. It is exactly what she expects. Blame dressed as heartbreak, ownership dressed as marriage, apology twisted into accusation. He writes that she destroyed him. He writes that she owes him one final conversation. He writes that Derek will become worse than him. Carly reads the last line twice, not because she believes Arthur, but because the warning has found a fear already living inside her. Then she folds the paper calmly. "No response," she says. Derek watches her. "You reassure." Carly gives him a small, steady smile. That is the response. That night, Carly dreams of the mall again, but this time the dream changes. Arthur grabs her wrist and she does not freeze. She turns. Sarah stands behind her. Derek is not in front of her, fighting in her place. He is somewhere behind her, present but not leading. Carly looks Arthur in the face and says no. The word echoes through the marble corridor until the crowd finally moves. People step forward. Phones call emergency services. Sarah takes Carly's hand. Arthur's grip breaks. Carly wakes before dawn with tears on her cheeks and no scream in her throat, understanding that healing does not always arrive as peace. Sometimes it arrives as a different ending rehearsed inside the body. Derek finds her in the kitchen at 5 a.m, barefoot, trying to make tea with an expensive machine that seems designed to punish ordinary people. He takes the cup before it overflows and fixes it without comment. "Nightmare?" he asks. "A better one," Carly says. She tells him just enough. In the dream, she did not need him in front of her. Derek listens, and something in his face softens with an emotion he does not seem practiced at using. "Good," he says. Carly looks up, surprised. "Good, that's how it should be." The answer sits between them. It does not make him safe. It makes him aware that real protection should make itself less necessary over time. Carly starts choosing small things because small choices are how a stolen life begins returning. She chooses breakfast with Sarah. Instead of eating alone in the guest room, she chooses to walk the guarded rooftop garden without asking permission. She chooses to call her landlord herself. She chooses to return to the gallery, not because Derek owns it through some clean company, but because the work is hers. Returning is harder than she admits. The rooms smell of paint, wood polish, and flowers from an arrangement someone sent after hearing the news. Her co-workers hug her carefully. No one says Arthur's name unless she does first. Noon, Carly stands before the ruined donor wall and orders it repainted white. Word spreads quickly through the circles that once protected Arthur. People begin rewriting their own memories. They always suspected something. They were always uncomfortable. They always cared. Carly reads those messages with Sarah on the gallery floor, eating takeout from paper containers. Some apologies are real. Many are self-preservation, wearing better clothes. Carly answers very few. She owes no one a performance of forgiveness. Sarah deletes the worst messages with ruthless joy and reads the ridiculous ones aloud in a dramatic voice until Carly laughs hard enough to cry. That laughter matters. It returns the ordinary world one sharp joke at a time. Survival is not only fear in court dates. Sometimes it is two women in a half-painted gallery, laughing at cowards. Derek watches from a distance more often now, because Carly asked for distance, and he is trying to learn what obedience feels like when it is not forced. Enzo finds this both amusing and dangerous. "You letting her give orders," he says one evening. Derek signs a document without looking up. She gives boundaries. "Same thing from where I am standing." Derek finally looks at him, then stands somewhere smarter. Enzo shuts up, but the truth follows Derek after the room empties. Carly has become the one person whose refusal he does not want to punish. That frightens him more than enemies do. Enemies are simple. A woman who makes him want to be careful is not. Arthur's trial preparations drag his secrets into daylight. Photographs, payments, medical records, witnesses who once stayed silent. Carly is asked to testify. Derek wants to say no before she finishes reading the request. He does not. He waits. Carly notices the effort and appreciates it more than she says. "I am going," she tells him. Sarah squeezes her hand. Derek's face hardens. "It will be ugly." Carly nods. "He made ugly things happen in private because he trusted silence." I am done protecting his comfort. Derek steps closer, then stops himself. "What do you need?" The question lands gently. Carly thinks about it. A ride. Sarah with me. You not speaking for me unless I ask. The courthouse is crowded the day Carly appears. Reporters call her name. Cameras flash. Noise drags her back to the mall, to the crowd that watched without helping. Then Sarah's hand finds hers. Derek walks behind them, not beside her, because she told him she wanted to enter under her own name, not under his shadow. That matters. Inside, Arthur sits at the defense table in a suit that cannot hide what he has lost. When he sees Carly, his face moves through disbelief, anger, and something close to fear. Carly does not look away. The old reflex tells her to lower her eyes. She keeps them raised. On the stand, Carly's voice shakes at first, then it steadies. She does not turn her pain into performance. She gives facts, dates, rooms, injuries, threats, names. The first time Arthur's lawyer tries to twist her words, Carly pauses, looks directly at him, and corrects him with calm precision. No, that is not what I said. The courtroom goes still. It is a small sentence, but for Carly it feels enormous. Arthur once taught her that correction was dangerous. Now correction is evidence. Sarah cries quietly in the back row. Derek remains motionless, but his hand closes around the armrest until his knuckles pale. He does not interfere. Carly does not need him to. Then the prosecutor calls Evelyn Marsh. Arthur's lawyer objects before the name is fully spoken. The objection fails. Evelyn walks in pale, thin, and shaking, but she walks. Arthur's face changes in a way Carly will never forget. Not rage, not arrogance. Recognition of a door he thought had been sealed forever opening in public. Evelyn testifies about the forged medical records, the threats, the money, the night she was told that if she wanted to keep her license, she would sign what Arthur's people put in front of her. Carly watches Arthur shrink with every answer. This is the twist he did not expect. Carly's testimony wounded him. Evelyn's testimony removes the floor beneath him. During a recess, Arthur breaks his lawyer's instruction and speaks as Carly passes the defense table. You always were dramatic, he says. Soft enough to pretend innocence, sharp enough to hook old fear. Carly stops. Sarah stiffens. Derek behind them goes dangerously still. Carly turns before anyone can stop her. No, Arthur, she says. Her voice carries farther than she intends. I was quiet. That was what you liked. I'm not quiet anymore. The bailiff calls for order. The judge gavel strikes once. But the damage is already done. Her face collapses in a way no financial attack could cause. Money can be frozen. Companies can be taken. But that sentence takes back the private kingdom he built inside her fear. Outside the courthouse, Derek waits by the car. He does not praise her like a child or wrap her in possessive relief. He simply opens the door and says, "You were strong." Carly stops beside him. I was scared. Both can be true, Tao. She looks at him then, really looks. The man before her is still dangerous. That has not changed, unevenly and painfully. That protecting her cannot mean swallowing her life. Carly steps closer and adjusts the cuff of his sleeve. A small gesture that makes his eyes drop to her hand. Do not forget what I said, she tells him. I decide. Derek's answer is quiet. I remember. Arthur's conviction does not come in one dramatic blow. It comes through procedure, testimony, documents, and the slow turning of a system he once believed he could bend. When the verdict is finally read, Carly feels Sarah's hand crush hers. Derek stands behind them silent. Arthur does not look at Carly this time. He stares at the table as if the wood might open and return him to a world where his name still mattered. It does not. The sentence is not enough to erase what happened. Nothing could be, but it closes a door Carly had been holding shut with her own body for years. When she leaves the courthouse, the air tastes different. That should have been the ending. It is not. 2 nights later, Derek receives a message from an old contact near the prison transport route. Arthur has bought one last chance, not to escape forever, but to disappear long enough to become dangerous again. 2 guards are paid. A vehicle is marked. A window of 7 minutes has been opened between the courthouse and the federal holding road. Enzo wants to move first and make sure Arthur never reaches the van. Derek's face turns cold, the old instinct rising clean and fast. Carly hears enough from the hallway to understand. No, she says. Derek turns. This is not your burden. Carly walks into the room. It became mine the moment he used my name to justify every cage he built. Derek's voice drops. If I let the law handle it and they fail, he comes back for you. Carly steps closer. even though every man in the room seems to stop breathing. If you kill him now, he owns one more piece of my life. I become the reason you cross a line you were already waiting to cross. Derek's eyes darken. I can end the threat. No, Carly says. You can end the man. That is not the same thing. Silence fills the room. Sarah appears at the doorway, listening. Carly's voice softens, but it does not weaken. I am asking you to protect my choice, not your fear. That lands deeper than any accusation. Derek looks at the map, the route, the names, the timing. And he closes the file. Enzo, send the route leak to the marshals. Full detail. We do not touch him. The ambush fails before it begins. Federal marshals change the transport route, arrest 2 guards on Arthur's payroll, and seize the money meant to buy silence. But Arthur still gets one final call under attorney privilege before the line is locked down. He does not call a lawyer. He calls Carly's gallery. The call is recorded because Carly requested every unknown number be routed through security. She listens from the office with Sarah beside her, and Derek standing near the door. Arthur's voice comes through thin and furious. You think this is freedom? He will own you worse than I ever did. Carly closes her eyes for 1 second. When she opens them, the fear is still there, but it is no longer in charge. She picks up the line. Arthur, Carly says. On the other end, silence falls so sharply that even Derek looks up. Arthur had expected a guard, an assistant, anyone but her. Carly, he says, and for a heartbeat, his voice tries to become the old voice, the one that could make a room feel smaller. Listen to me. Carly stands in the center of the gallery, facing the newly painted wall where his donor plate used to hang. No, she says. The word is calm. You listen. Sarah's eyes fill with tears. Derek does not move. Carly continues, each sentence steady enough to cut clean. You are not my husband. You are not my owner. You are not the author of my life. You are a chapter I survived. Arthur breathes hard into the phone. You will regret this. Carly answers, I already regret not saying it sooner. Arthur starts shouting then, losing every careful mask at once. He calls her ungrateful. He calls her weak. He calls Derek a monster. Carly lets him speak until his rage runs out of shape and becomes noise. Then she says the sentence that finally ends him for her. Derek did not take me from you, Arthur. I left you before he ever touched your world. The line goes silent. That truth is the one Arthur cannot survive with pride intact. He can blame Derek for money, lawyers, humiliation, prison, even fear. But he cannot turn Carly's choice into theft if she refuses to let him. She hangs up first. Her hand shakes afterward. Sarah wraps both arms around her. Derek stays where he is, because this victory is not his to hold. That evening, Carly returns to the penthouse to collect the things she left there. Derek understands before she says it. The guards stay back. Sarah waits downstairs. Carly walks through the quiet rooms where fear, protection, anger and strange comfort once tangled together. I found an apartment, she says, across the river. Good locks, terrible wallpaper. Derek's mouth almost curves. Do you need anything? Carly shakes her head. I need to know I can leave and still choose to come back if I want to. There it is, the line between rescue and ownership. Derek steps away from the doorway, leaving it open. Then leave tonight, he says, and come back only because you decide to. Weeks pass. Carly is not magically healed. No one is. Some mornings she still checks the hallway before opening the door. Some nights a silver car on the street makes her hand go cold. But now fear is not the person making decisions. One night, Carly finds a final envelope slipped under her apartment door. No threat, no photo. Just the old brass donor plate from the gallery, Arthur Pendleton engraved across it, scratched until the name is almost unreadable. On the back, in Derek's handwriting, are 5 words, yours to throw away. Carly carries it to the gallery the next morning. She does not keep it as a trophy. She sets it under the back door, holding it open while workers bring in new art. So the question left behind is not whether Derek was a perfect hero. He was not. It is not whether Arthur deserved consequence. He did. The harder question is what survival can do to a person when every safe road has been burned. Carly walked through terror, accepted help from a dangerous man, challenged that danger, saved another witness, faced Arthur in court, refused his final voice, and chose a life that belonged to her again. Justice did not arrive clean. Healing did not arrive quickly. Love, if it ever came, would have to learn boundaries before it could call itself safe. But Carly's story proves one quiet thing. The moment a person who has been controlled learns to choose again, the old power over them begins to die. Every mafia boss story is not only about power, money, revenge, or fear. Beneath the violence and darkness, there is often a painful human lesson about choices, consequences, loyalty, family, and the price of ambition. This story reminds us that no matter how powerful a person becomes, no one can escape the truth forever. Hundreds of people, and make others tremble at the sound of his name. But if his heart is empty, his victory is never complete. The mafia boss in this story represents a man who built his life on control. He believed that fear was stronger than love, that silence was safer than honesty, and that power could protect him from pain. For years, he may have won every battle in the streets, in business, and among his enemies. But the most important battle was never outside him. It was inside his own heart. That is where he truly lost himself. One of the most meaningful lessons from this story is that power without morality becomes a prison. Many people dream of becoming rich, respected, or feared. They think success means having control over others. But real success is not measured by how many people obey you. It is measured by how many lives you protect, how much peace you create, and how much good remains after you are gone. The mafia boss had money, influence, and protection, but he did not have peace. His life shows us that a person can be surrounded by luxury and still feel completely alone. Another important lesson is that loyalty is valuable, but blind loyalty can destroy lives. In the world of crime, loyalty is often treated like the highest law. People are expected to follow orders without question. Never mean giving up your conscience. A loyal person does not simply protect someone's secrets. A loyal person also has the courage to stop someone from destroying themselves. This story teaches us that loyalty without honesty is dangerous. Real loyalty should be connected to truth, respect, and moral responsibility. The story also shows the heavy cost of revenge. Revenge often feels powerful in the beginning. It gives a person the illusion that pain can be answered with pain, but revenge rarely heals anything. Instead, it creates a chain of suffering that keeps growing. One act of revenge leads to another. One betrayal leads to another. In the end, everyone loses something. The mafia boss may have believed that revenge would restore his honor, but what it truly did was steal his humanity piece by piece. This is a powerful reminder that forgiveness is not weakness. Sometimes, forgiveness is the strongest decision a person can make because it breaks the cycle of hatred. Family is another central lesson in this kind of story. Many mafia bosses claim they do everything for family. They say they commit crimes to protect the people they love. But protection without honesty can become another form of harm. A family does not only need money or security. A family needs trust, emotional safety, and love that is not poisoned by fear. If a father, husband, brother, or son becomes powerful but loses the ability to show tenderness, then his family may live in a beautiful house, but still feel trapped inside it. This story reminds us that children and loved ones often pay the price for the choices of powerful men. The mafia boss may think his decisions only affect his enemies, but every secret, every violent act, and every betrayal leaves a shadow over the innocent people around him. That is why one of the strongest educational messages is this: before making a decision, we must ask ourselves who will suffer because of it. A selfish choice may bring temporary success, but it can create long-term pain for the people we love most. Another meaningful point is the danger of pride. Pride can make a person refuse to apologize, refuse to change, and refuse to admit they are wrong. The mafia boss may have spent years believing that saying sorry would make him look weak, but in reality, the ability to apologize is a sign of strength. It takes courage to face the damage we have caused. It takes maturity to admit that we hurt someone, and it takes true character to change before it is too late. The story also teaches that redemption is possible, but it always requires sacrifice. A person cannot simply say they have changed. They must prove it through action. Redemption means accepting responsibility, protecting the innocent, telling the truth, and sometimes losing everything that was built on lies. For a mafia boss, redemption may mean walking away from power, exposing corruption, saving someone he once endangered, or choosing love over control. The path to redemption is painful, because it forces a person to confront the worst parts of themselves. But it is also the only path that can lead to peace. From a human perspective, this story is powerful because it shows that even the hardest heart can still feel pain. Behind the cold eyes of a mafia boss, there may be regret, loneliness, childhood wounds, or a deep fear of being betrayed. This does not excuse his actions, but it helps us understand that broken people often break others, when they never learn how to heal. The educational value here is important. Pain should not become an excuse to hurt people. Instead, pain should become a reason to grow, to seek wisdom, and to choose a better path. For viewers, the lesson is not to admire the criminal lifestyle, but to understand its emptiness. The suits, cars, mansions, and power may look attractive from the outside, but behind them there's often fear, guilt, and loss. A life built on violence can never bring true happiness. A life built on lies can never bring true freedom. And a life built on fear can never create real love. In the end, the story of a mafia boss is really a warning. It warns us that every choice has a consequence. It warns us that money cannot buy peace. It warns us that fear cannot replace respect. It warns us that revenge cannot heal a wounded heart. Most importantly, it reminds us that the greatest power a person can have is not the power to control others, but the power to control themselves. The deepest lesson is simple but meaningful. Choose character over pride, love over control, truth over silence, and forgiveness over revenge. No matter how dark a person's past may be, change is possible when they are willing to face the truth. But the longer someone waits, the higher the price becomes. A mafia boss may win the streets, defeat his enemies, and build an empire, but if he loses his soul, he has lost everything. True strength is not found in violence. True strength is found in responsibility, compassion, humility, and the courage to become better before it is too late.